All right, I'm going to get going. So first of all, hello, everyone, and welcome back to Sharin Stories. I'm your host, Andrew Prishlak. These are my two beautiful co-hosts, Sarah States and the real St. Paul. Just so everybody knows, this is not a therapy session. You will not find any mental health professionals here, nor are we a substitute for said people. We are just regular people sharing our stories with mental health. Today, we are lucky enough to have an amazing guest, an ex-tight end for the Detroit Lions, Arizona Cardinals, and New England Patriots, who in his rookie season at the age of 23 scored 7 touchdowns before battling injuries and later going on to doing a lot of mental health awareness. You can find him on Instagram or all social media accounts at Big Joe. Big Joe Fauria, everybody. Thank you so much for coming on.
Woo!
Hell yeah. So first, Joe, give yourself a little bit better of an introduction than I could have.
Well, I tell you what, that was a really good intro. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Thank you.
I could have started earlier. 30 years ago, I was born in a hospital at Kaiser Permanente at 9 pounds 11 ounces, and
a lot earlier.
Yeah, but fast forward toward like 25, 27 years to like when you're in the mental health world after football's over. I'm trying out life. I'm trying radio. I'm trying TV, unscripted. And then I found a desire and a love, and I finally fed the soul, which was doing what I always wanted to do, which was doing scripted stuff. So about a year and a half ago, I started taking acting classes. I had just finished level 3 improv, and I was like, let's just do it. And I moved back to LA after living in New York for 2 years with a lady friend of mine. That had to end. Came back came back home for the first time in like a decade because I've lived all over the country. And then the best thing for me was to live in the thick of it in the Olympic village of acting. And since then, I got my ankle surgery that was bothering me, and that basically was the end of my career. Finally got that over with, was a monkey off my back. And then just the end of last year and the beginning of this year, before the world closed, I was getting auditions. I was going on auditions. I was turning in self-tapes. I was getting callbacks and all that stuff. Things were good. And then the world was like, nah, press pause on all your plans. So like everybody else, my story is not unique, and this pandemic has affected my life, and it caused a severe amount of introspection and self-awareness. So I garnered even more of that this past several months. And now that the world is slowly getting a little bit normal, I am now doing more auditions and really, really fully committed to the whole Big Joe being a big ass actor.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Sarah has she is
very similar
as well. And I think just with this COVID thing, everybody's being put on pause. Yeah. But I'd love to know this introspective moment that you're having in the quarantine. As you look back on kind of your life, can you tell us how mental health has played a role in all that?
Well, throughout my life, mental health has played a role, and I didn't even know it was. Because when we were younger in the 90s, you guys can attest to this, what was mental health? I mean, anxiety was leprechauns and unicorns. I thought breathing in that brown paper bag, like you saw in the movies, was for babies, and I'm not a baby. I'm a man. So that was a hard pill to swallow. But for so long, I as an athlete, I forgot that I practiced mental health all the time. It was something that was taught to my subconscious, whether it be lifting that 400-pound squat or 500-pound squat or 300-pound hang clean, or running that extra gas, or visualizing me catching the game-winning touchdown or game-winning free throw or whatever, game-winning home run. That mental aspect of believing in yourself, visualizing, overcoming things that your body or your other parts of you do not think it's possible. That practice of an athlete as you're a young child and up into your adulthood is something that's almost garnered as, yeah, everyone does it. But it's something to practice that a lot of guys don't, and some do better than others. Michael Jordan, probably one of the best at visualizing and keeping his mental health in order to be successful. He's like, yeah, I know that if I'm doing what everybody else is doing, I'm probably not gonna be happy. But if I play a round of golf, have a cigar, and visualize and being present and all that stuff, I'm gonna be the best ever. And everyone's different in that regard. But when it came to my mental health, I didn't understand it more until my football career was over. And I had to I had to remind myself of my strength and my mental strength. And I had to practice again. But it was way easier to practice when I was doing something I loved, when I was playing football, when I was working out, when I was making a bunch of money. All these things were going well, that it really didn't garner any challenge to my mental health. So because it was just so easy, it was a practice I'd been doing for years. So once that practice was gone, and that little sheet of white paper that told me my day to day, every hour, every half hour of a plan of the work day throughout the day, that was my schedule. Then I had to figure out how to make my own schedule. So that was hard. I was like, I'm just used to people telling me what to do, where to be, and I'll be there, and I won't show up 30 minutes early, but I'll be there. And so getting mental health on my own, especially this past 2020, this past year, has been the realization that I've been doing it, but more so when it comes down to actually practicing it, especially during this year, you couldn't get by without having that introspection and really facing it. Because so many people, if you've had friends or loved ones during this time that have been like, damn, this is hard. Like, I'm really not only because I just opened up a business and it closed down. Yeah, that's like the worst of it. But there's so many people that are going through this time that are just been like, I hate being with my own thoughts. I hate not being able to go outside and exercise or get all these things that take my mind off the current matter at hand, which is your mental health. So everyone else has been, most majority have been like, nah, I don't like this year. And yeah, I don't like this year. This sucks. I'm living in LA. There's no amenities. It looks apocalyptic. There's boarded up windows. There's riots. There's shooting in the streets. There's fireworks. Everything is bad. It's shit. But I've had a really good year. And it's weird to say that out loud because I've had a year where I've just been working on myself, doing things I want to do, having my day, not feeling bad, having a Wednesday where my friends usually would have a 9 to 5, but I always felt weird not having that 9 to 5, having to make my own schedule. When people say, what are you doing? I'm like, I always got weird saying how my day was or what my day was like. It's like, oh, the first hour, I'm going to write poetry. And the second hour, I'm going to do meditation. And the third hour, I'm going to write in my journal. And the fourth hour, I'm going to do yoga. And people don't think that's work.
Yeah.
That's not work to so many people. And sure, that's fine for a lot of people, but others, like, they should realize that is probably the best thing for them. But that wasn't taught to us. That wasn't brainwashed to us as kids. When we were in the schoolyard with fences around our whole schoolyard, we were in this little bubble that they taught us certain things. We had to go a certain way. And now these kids that are on the TikToks, I mean, obviously this Generation Z, they have a lot to deal with, but so many of them are also living a life that as children and at young ages that I wish we could have done. I wish I would have been able to do this, or know that was possible, or knew that was an outlet, or knew that this was okay to feel this way, or was bad. I should tell people about this, how I feel this way, or these thoughts that I have. So I'm getting a little long-winded, but that is my long-winded way of saying mental health is super important.
No, we like the long-winded. Means we don't have to do our job too much. But what I wanted to say with that is, for you, the way you're talking about is, I have a similar belief too, is that let's take someone who has a 9 to 5 job. How often at their job are they sitting at their desk doing nothing, looking at shopping or talking to their neighbor who's there, right? These jobs don't equate to work, and they definitely don't equate to a better work than someone who has a randomized, schedule, exactly like you said. Yeah. So the way TikTok and all that has happened is it allows us to get away from that, right? It completely allows us to be our own boss without having to go through the process of setting up a sole proprietorship or doing whatever we possibly used to have to do, and all the hoops we have to jump to in the past before technology was absolutely booming. So it is extremely beneficial in that regard. And yeah, I think that is something that a lot of people struggle with, feeling that they don't put the work in that other people do, when really they are. It's just happens to be in a different way. Right.
And now you're seeing a bunch of people that have those jobs realizing that they don't need to be in certain places, and they could also do their job while being in a Sprinter van with their animals, travel the world. Like there is, out of this whole thing, there has been a creation of a different wave of people going about their lives. Maybe those 9-to-5 people are realizing, hey, I don't have to do this, or I did this in my cubicle, but now I can do this on my Wi-Fi hotspot in North Dakota. Like, that type of thing.
Totally. And something that I've noticed too, so typically I live in New York and I'm an actor. All my friends are actors. And you talked a bit about like how a lot of people are miserable during this time, or what do I do with this time, or whatever. And I'm amazed at my community in New York and how, interesting it is to see people pivoting in the pandemic. Not to say that they still don't love the arts, or they still don't want to be an actor, or they still don't want to do this, but truly a lot of my friends have completely pivoted from being an actor to whatever other interests they may have had. So, and it's not, and to them, it's not like,
is that them giving up?
You're right, exactly. And so I was so curious to hear when I heard you were coming on, like, because you pivoted, and you're pivoting now into, the entertainment industry from your athletic career. And I feel like when someone does that, it can feel so liberating, but it can also feel like giving up, or like feel like, you're losing sight of one dream for another. And I feel like it can be almost devastating to do that sometimes, even though like you're passionate about this other thing too. So I think it's something that I've seen a lot recently. And something that I've been thinking about too. I'm not ready to do the pivot, but there are other things out there. But yeah, I was just so curious to hear what you have to say about that.
Well, I have a couple neighbors that one moved out, one's about to move out, and they are in this world, the acting world, but they are not as fortunate as I am, because I had a former career. I have enough money to support myself in living in West Hollywood, and there's 2 women in my building that are literally moving away because they're waiting tables to support their desire to be an actress or to be in the arts or what have you. And with no amenities in LA currently, they have to reevaluate and see if they could grab something more quantifiable or something like that, because right now they can't support themselves. So when it comes to having to pivot because of a pandemic, or because you're not able to support yourself, I mean, that sucks. I can tell you my pivot. When you're giving your Spark Note story of your life, it seems as if my pivot was quick, or it seems my pivot happened in a few weeks. My pivot happened over a course of a few years. My pivot happened with me discovering that mental health was important, because before, my practice was staying in my room for 7 days out of the week, thinking that I wasn't good enough because football was over, and that was the only thing I thought I knew how to do well. And even then, I went to sleep at night thinking that, but at the same time, in my bones, I was like, damn, Big Joe does so much more than, and so I talked to myself. I said, Big Joe does so much more than just catch footballs, but it's been hammered into me day after day, practice, pushing big ass dudes and catching really difficult to catch balls, and waking up early, working out, all these types of things. Like, I just thought that I was that football robot. So getting rid of that persona was difficult. And I tell you, it wasn't a quick pivot. It was a hard pill to swallow. And I'm glad I finally got there, but it was a really windy road to finally be comfortable. Even right now, even before this pandemic happened, I was still like, you know what? I got to get some roles under me. I got to actually be paid for a role to be considered one. I didn't feel as if, me going to class, because I put my head down. I knew that I could have gotten these roles or opportunities, or being in the room because of the people I know and rubbed elbows with over the years. However, I was going to respect the art, and I knew that in order to climb certain mountaintops, I climbed a mountaintop. I got the Mount Everest of athletes. I went to the NFL, and I succeeded, and I did well. didn't go as long as I didn't hang out and party on the mountaintop too long because the air is too thin. So then after that, after I fell down the mountain after my injury, metaphor, I'm really driving the metaphor in. After I fell down the mountain, I saw these other hills and valleys, if you will, of other like certain jobs, talking football, if you will. I thought that was the natural progression of things, which is play football. And if you got a good face and got a good, you can make some good words come out of your mouth, you can then talk about football for the rest of your life. And that could be your livelihood. And I was like, bet, that's easy. Let's do that. X's and O's, bang, bang, boom. I'm good at it. People had me on. They kept inviting me to be on the CBS, the ESPNs, the NFL AMs, all these things. I was doing it. I was doing good. Sports Center, all that stuff. I didn't like it. I wasn't fulfilled. I woke up in the morning like, I'm just looking up 10 minutes before I go on. I'm just looking up what to say on Bleacher Report. I don't like doing this. I'm not even watching sports anymore. So that was hard to swallow. So when it came to pivoting, I had to get my closure from football, and I had to be willing enough to accept that it was over and to move on and to really start climbing the mountaintop that is acting. I don't want to be just, in your local studio films or whatever. I want to do all that. But at the same time, I do want to be in film, in TV, in a sitcom or something like that. I know that I thought I'm a math guy. Statistically, 6'8", they don't make a lot of me. They don't make a lot of guys my size. So I'm already going against a small pun, small group of people, a small amount of people. So I figured, I was like, you know what? There wasn't a lot of tight ends my size, but let me just bring it to this side and be like, hey, I'm not going to go against a lot of people. And if there's an influx of stuff being made. Like right now, kind of off the subject, but the weed business. If you're going into the weed business in the United States, you are still a pioneer. Sure, when we grew up, Tom Cruise was the main guy. He was 5'6". No offense, Paul. He made it work. He made it work, But now they are higher. Instead of getting the two apple boxes and stacking them up for taller guys, they are hiring bigger men. Jason Momoa, Army Hammer, bigger guys are giving guys like me hope. So they are hiring guys like that. So I took a step back. I'm like, wait, there is a spot that needs to be filled. There is an influx of stuff being made, like this streaming platform, Disney Plus, Paramount Pictures, Netflix, Hulu, Quibi, YouTube, all these different things. You're telling me they're not going to need a big guy, and if they do, I'm sure I'm better than the other big guy. So put me in, coach. Let's start acting.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wish you the best of luck for sure. I mean, there's absolutely the role of getting. You look at Dave Bautista now, who's just maybe 2 years ago started getting into acting, and kind of just followed that path, just followed right into it. I think there is a huge niche for it. I do want to backtrack a little bit and kind of go into you leaving football, and this being the first time you kind of noticed your mental health. Do you think that? Because a big part of you leaving football were injuries, if not all of it, and to a certain extent. Do you think not having that control to choose to leave weighed on you more, or do you think it almost helped you push out into doing what you actually, at this point, seem like you like doing?
It's a great question, but I have to just really it bears down to in the NFL, in the NBA, in the MLB. Any professional sport, the chances of you retiring or being done or finishing the sport or leaving on your own terms is very rare. It's very rare. Maybe a Tony Gonzalez, maybe a Tom Brady, maybe a Kobe Bryant, maybe. But besides that, there's not a lot of people do it. Once you're out, they push you out. They're like, okay, you're done. You're getting old. You're too expensive. Get out of here. Like, it's very rare to be done on your own. But even then, even though you know that it's going to be taken away from you at some point, because it's that old adage. It's like you don't stop on your own accord. Unless you're the 0.01% of the 0.01%. Okay.
Right.
So I knew that football was not going to be on my terms. However, how it ended was my fault. I was playing volleyball with some friends on an off day, came down to my ankle. Ever since then, my ankle's never been the same. I had to fix it only a year later, which was 5 years from the actual point of when it actually happened. So that right there is like is tough because it's one of the very unique jobs that have that caveat. It's like, yeah, you can play, you can be great, you can be really good, but then you're going to get too expensive. And then this younger, faster, more 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 exuberant younger player that can do the same thing as you can for cheaper, shoot, makes the owners salivate. So
Yeah.
that's just the nature of the business. So, but when it came down to actually me being done, yeah, I had a very unique opportunity though, because once I was done, I was crawling my way back in. Every indication said I was going to be playing again. But one thing led to another. Once you get kicked out of the club, it's like no white tees, no Tims, no gold chains, no camo. You're not allowed back in. It's a very elite club. Everyone knows each other. Everyone's very cliquey.
Yeah.
You know, there are some players that literally, I have a buddy of mine I went to college with. He had less plays in 7 years than I did touchdowns. But he got another opportunity and another. Yeah, I had 8. He got on the field 4 times in 7 years, but he collected 7 years worth of NFL checks. But was he any less deserving of me? No, dude, get your money. You know, everyone's path is different. It's not how you get into the NFL. I went in undrafted. I defied all the odds. I came and played as a rookie really well. My uncle used to always tell me he played 13 years in the NFL, was very good, won 2 Super Bowls. He left before I got in, and he was like, he'd always tell me this one thing. I was like, hey, Joseph, it's not how you get in, it's how you stay in. And I didn't understand that. I thought once I got in, I was good. But the variables that come into account to stay in are the ones that I didn't follow, and that ended up nipping me in the butt. And that's why my career was as short as it was. But nevertheless, now I'm comfortable in puffing out my chest and saying how awesome it was, because I'm also it got reminded to me in the real world that I'm in now, which was, you know, I was so often not comparing myself, but would put myself side by side to that of a football player and their life and the locker room and what they do. And then I came to the real world. I was like, damn, man, I'm a failure. I am a failure. I did not do the NFL thing that I wanted to do. I had this whole plan. Would have loved to gotten double-digit years or whatever, more touchdowns, extra contract. It didn't work out that way. And I held that failure on to myself in my being. And then it exuded out of me in every facet of my life. And my relationships suffered. My work suffered. My mental health suffered. And then, like we're doing right now, I shared my stories, started sharing my story. I listened to other people's stories. I realized that my suffering was not unique. It was unique. But when I heard other people's stories, I was like, oh, everyone's going through it. And you know what? You're going through it way worse than me. Ugh, that sucks. That opens up your eyes. It really does. It opens up your heart, opens up your eyes, opens up your soul. And I didn't really understand it, but having gone through it, it's made me a much happier person and much more comfortable with pursuing this next level and this next pivot of my life.
Love that.
I mean, you got to understand that you're going into this league at 22. I'm 27 right now, and I don't fucking have a clue what I'm doing.
Right.
So like these people are thrown into something that really is deciding, you know, how the rest of my life might look as of right now at this age, and that's a lot to take in. That's a hell of a lot to take in. So not doing it perfectly is not something that like you said, to do it perfectly is the one-off. To do it correctly and make it through that time is the one-off. So it's not like you're definitely not alone in that regard. But the fact that you're sharing your story is what kind of separates you now.
Yeah.
Right. Because there is a lot of people that kind of go through this.
Yeah. And having the failures and failing often is good, is important. And I've, you know, it's easy to forget how often you failed to get up until this point. There's a good little quote that I've seen a few times on the Instagrams. It's you look back every day, you look back the day before, or the past few days, nothing's changed. You look back a year, nothing's the same. Like, we're so used. I listen to this. I'll get a little bit of a hippie on you. We're so used to during this time that we're living in, it's closing the gap and making the gap shorter to getting to your goal or getting to your destination. But like, for example, travel, we want to get there faster, but it's all about the journey. And we don't start a song to be excited about the end. Otherwise, every song would be just one fucking note. We don't start our dancing looking forward to sitting down. No, we enjoy dancing. So when it comes to furthering and bettering yourself, we're so used to immediate gratification at this moment in time. We're so excited to get those likes. We're so excited to get people saying, "Hey, I love watching you live your life on Instagram, or whatever." Or we love closing the gap of I don't know. It's been date 3. I'm used to having sex by now on this date, or something like that. Let's close the gap. Let's do it faster. I want to get it faster just to know what I like or whatever. No. The good things take time. Am I right, Sarah?
You're so right. Pete doesn't know anything about that, but I know all about it.
Good things take time, and that has been a practice of mine recently. Is that as much as I want to be the next Jason Momoa right the fuck now, and right now I'm 30, and right now Hollywood's closed down, and I'm like, I can't be 30 again. I can only play these 22-year-old roles for so long. I can only push my hair forward so much for so long. Okay, so I want to close the gap. But at the same time, I do believe in the process. I do believe that in climbing Mount Everest, you have to practice your breathing. You have to do this cold plunge. You have to do all these things that prepare you to reach the mountaintop, and believe in those things. Right now, we've heard, Sarah, you've heard the story about John that started acting 2 weeks ago, and he already is on ABC. This Is Us. What the fuck? How did he get that? But there's also the Morgan Freemans that I read. I said no 10,000 times. Mom narrating Penguin, like that. That's different. Like,
Morgan, you're here. Is Morgan Freeman here?
so somewhere in between that is what's normal, and we strive to have ourself go viral or get picked off on the first role. But the process is the best part. Having all these acting friends is cool. Sarah, I had none 2 years ago, and I was like, damn, I need some new friends. Yeah, my friends are tight, but they're all my size. They all think, like, crying on stage is a little weird, and like, like that kind of thing. Like, acting and having an open mind is weird. And I'm like, I need some different friends. That's why I moved to West Hollywood. Got my friends. That is just, and that is the type of person I am. And I realized now I had to be someone else when I was playing football. And now in this world of acting and entertainment and having certain friends and not caring about living up to a certain standard or being this verbose football player or masculine man, I'm so fucking confident in myself that I can walk in the room. I know I'm that big guy, but I know I'm that big guy that you're gonna remember, and it's gonna remember you and make you feel good. And not just because I scored a touchdown and you're my fan. I want you to know that I care about this conversation we're having, this connection that we're having, and that's the type of person and I want to be remembered as, not just for the touchdown dances I had.
Joe, wow.
They're hella good touchdowns.
I was telling Pete St. Paul how I was afraid to be in this like virtual world with 3 guys, like full of testosterone, but like that was really cool.
These are getting deep. I love it. I feel like next time we're doing this, we should be smoking a blunt together. But either way, it's
really, I can grab my bong.
Hey, I mean, we don't have rules as of right now, but we'll see. But
my mom is listening.
Oh no, Mom! I was talking about. Sorry, Mom.
The whole flower. So I want to kind of get to more of now. What have you done in the last 4 or 5 years that on a daily basis that make you feel better? How do you? It seems like you went through a lot of your career with your career at the end of it with a little bit of regret. I listened to another podcast where you talked about how the Patriots told you, "Hey, don't come back too early," and you decided to come back a little too early. And these like different big moments of regret. Have you learned ways to kind of turn that regret into a benefit, or is regret still something that kind of weighs on you pretty heavily constantly?
Regret.
Yeah, pretty broad word.
I could be that guy, that rah guy, and it's like, I regret nothing. I never regret nothing. No, dude, regret's real, and even if you don't feel it or don't live in it, it's okay to have experienced it. I don't regret anything now, but when my football career was over and it was in the introspection of realizing it was my fault, it was my doing. Regret sets in, and then it starts this symphony of other bad things happening inside of you or in your brain or in your mind or whatever, and also physically too. I mean, I wasn't healthy. I had to get that on point. I was, there was a point when a football season was over, I was still eating the same as if I was playing, and I got to 280 pounds. Big boy. I was really big. I was big. I was big Joe. Biggest Joe, and then, I had to get that into check. Excuse me. What was the question again?
The question just is there things you kind of do daily to kind of turn that regret into a positive thing?
So again, that's why I got sidetracked, because the word regret, it itches my not so favorable spots. It's something that, it's not that I carry every day, but something that I've lived in, I've experienced, and I've overcame and continue to overcome every day. Because there's times when I watch football or I look at old pictures or I feel certain things and I can't help but feel them. And those are things I'll probably carry with the rest of my life. But will it get in the way of me appreciating my kids playing football or sports, or my little cousins in college playing college football, Colorado, my other cousins and playing high school football? Both have since been canceled this year, but I will totally support them. I will totally be there for them, because I loved watching the sport, mostly watching the sport with people I knew. And that's why I got escaped when I was over. I was like, I know my friends, but I don't really have any invested interest in this right now. So that was something I had to learn. And when it came to actually practicing something that would then heal my regret, or regret feeling, if you will, is that I leaned heavily into yoga. I leaned heavily into meditation. I leaned heavily into podcasts and getting other voices in my head. And then I became almost too open. I had to learn another valuable lesson when it came to sharing my story, because that was very healing and very good for me, which was, putting it into perspective, saying it out loud so it became real, and then I could, go through it and grow and have that feeling of I could overcome this. But then, I don't know if you guys have ever experienced this, but then I realized a hard lesson about not everyone has their best interest listening to your story, and you have to be careful who you share it with. And that was talk about tough pills to swallow. Those were tough. I've had friends that I've had for years, decades, if you will, that I don't have any more because I shared a story and it got back to someone it shouldn't gotten back to, or it got used against me months later, or it changed the way they thought of me. And I got so upset when those things happened. But then I realized it's okay because not only they're showing their true colors, but I'm glad I get to know now. And not everyone means to judge. Not everyone, not everyone means to not give anything back when they're taking all of your light. Not everyone means to do that, but you have to be careful who you share it with, because that person, even though they don't know what they're doing, it's very detrimental to your health. So, I don't know, I'm getting really hippie on you. I am someone that practices empathy, and I have been called by other empaths, someone as themselves an empath, if you will. So similar to I always draw lines to the movie with Michael Clark Duncan and Tom Hanks. It's a movie called The Green Mile.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's about, this guy who didn't kill these little girls. He tried to save them. And he's on death row. And he's this big dude, bald, black-headed black dude. And he is an empath. And they really drive the narrative and the allegory home when he tries to heal someone. He tries to heal Tom Hanks's ball cancer. And he's like, yo, I'm gonna grab your ball and I'm gonna take this pain away from you. And the pain manifests into locusts. And Michael Clark Duncan expels the locust. Otherwise, he'll get sick, or he'll get ball cancer, or he'll die, or something like that. And that's what an empath is. An empath needs to be careful who they share their story with, who they share their light with, because there's a lot of leeches out there. And not all leeches are bad leeches. Some leeches are just people that just don't know their own vibration or energy or any of that stuff. So they're just taking. They're just taking. Give me that stuff. Oh, that feels good hanging out with Joe. That feels good hanging out with Sarah. Give me some more of that. You gotta be careful who you share your light with, who you share your story with. And that is a tough lesson to learn, because you think everyone has your best interest, but it's not the case. So when you have empathy, which we all have and all can experience, some more than others. And that's not a bad thing that some have it more than others. Some live a life that just doesn't require that. Mine, and how I grew up and how I was raised and how I interact with people, my empathy is very strong. And to be careful with that, because if I don't express those locusts, whether with practicing my yoga or practicing my meditation, it comes out in anger. It comes out in not taking care of myself. It comes out and it rears its foolish head with other things that I don't recognize about myself, because I forgot that I talked to Anthony the other day and he just soul sucked me, and I was trying to help him out, and I forgot that I had to expel all this bad stuff that I got from him. It wasn't his fault. He is still my best friend and I still love him so much, but I gotta be careful. Like, I gotta get rid of this stuff. Why do I feel icky? Why do I feel icky? Like I'm a big freaking guy. When I walk into a room, everyone's gonna look. If I don't smile, I'm that scary big guy. If I walk into the room with a smile, with my light, it's received and the room is warm and it's going to be a good time. And that's my favorite thing to do, is I will get a group of people at a dinner table that do not know each other. At the end of that dinner, they will all be best friends. It's my fucking talent. It's my favorite thing to do. But sometimes it's hard, because sometimes I don't want to do it. There's sometimes I'm like, damn, man, I'm just like the plus one. I don't know anybody here. Why do I got to make Allie and John be happy, even though they're sitting next to each other, they don't know each other? I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to break the ice. I'm going to make everybody fucking comfortable. I'm going to make fun of myself so everyone's comfortable, because like, oh, the big guy can laugh at himself? Why don't we all laugh at ourselves? Yeah, I'm very aware of the what I'm surrounded by, who I'm surrounded by, the vibration, the energy that I feel, that I see, that I bounce back. I will repay kindness with kindness. I will start off with kindness. I will remember your name. And all of those things come into to play. And maybe things I didn't think were important when I was playing football. I still practiced it. I still made fans feel good. But at the same time, I felt really good about myself. I had a certain certain feeling about me. But now I have more empathy and more I'm more aware of how I affect people, and that when you do come into contact with people, whether it be your best friend for 10 years or someone that you meet in the McDonald's drive-through, you have an opportunity to make an impact, whether they remember you forever or not, that you can make a positive impact. And this carrying that with you, wherever you go, whoever you meet, it pays out in the long run, because there's no reason why I should be getting these fucking auditions right now. But because I carried myself in a certain way after football was over, I was eager. I respected the art. I talked to the people I talked to, and I told them, I was like, hey, don't give me an audition right now. Let me work at it for a little bit. And this manager I have now, I had lunch with him, and halfway through the lunch, he was like, dude, let's do this. And I am the greenest actor he's ever had on in his repertoire. There's no reason for me to be doing this, but because I believed in myself, because I've treated people with certain respect and remember their name and built these relationships, didn't burn any bridges, I am at the place where I am now, where I can be comfortable calling myself an actor and having all this good mental health and practicing and all that stuff.
That is so crazy that you just said that, because like that's been my struggle like my whole life, like especially like being part of like the nightlife industry when I was in LA, and then having my own like electronic music blog. Like a lot of that's basically my job in when I had my blog. Was like my job was basically I just connect people. Like people will literally call me and be like, can you just come so you can like bring the rest of the crew and like this and that. And like it is hard to just like be that person, because you just like want to rest, but everybody's like, oh my god, like you have to bring Paul because Paul's gonna bring everybody else, and then your job is basically to connect everybody. And I'm just like, it's like the hardest thing, because sometimes I'm just like, I just want to like be left alone, and I'm just like, I just want to stay home and like not go out to the bars and like but people call you and like this and that. And a lot of people throughout my life, like you said, like you better be careful who you share your stories with. That's what I'm learning right now. And it's just like, because right now what I'm realizing is that like people have taken advantage of me because of like either my connection or like my niceness. Because what I'm learning right now is like how to balance my niceness and what's like how being nice is too nice. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, because I'm like the kind of person who can't say no to people. I'm just like, okay, I might as well do it. I'm just gonna be there 10 minutes. As long as I do it for them, all good. Like, but that's what I'm learning right now. It's like, it's hard for me to say no. And it's just like, because I'm such a nice person, and it's just like throughout my life, that's kind of like my thing. Cause everybody's like, oh, Paul's going to say yes. Don't worry about it. Like, so that's what I'm learning right now throughout my life.
The lesson I've learned, and I've had a few friends that have shared their experience with me as well, is that I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 30 years old. And I know that my back half of my 20s was acquiring this new level of intuition with people that deserve my time and people that don't need to be told yes. And there's things that don't serve me that I'm like, okay, I gotta say no to that. And just also I talk about being in groups of people and events or dinners, and the desire to say yes is I understand that, but there's also something that you acquire, which is like, okay, I'm sick of that small talk. I can already tell that person's doesn't have my best interest. The first thing he asked me was, what do I do? And when I said acting, he scoffed a little bit. All right, dude, you don't deserve my time. The better read that I've gotten on people, not a judgment, but a better read that I've gotten on people, has given me the ability to have less time to service everyone else's bullshit. Especially in this world of Hollywood or go getting. And when I lived in New York, that was the hardest. That was the hardest because that's different kind of money out there too. You got international money and that kind of stuff. And when that was that was the most difficult, because that was literally when I was pivoting, which was like leaving football, getting more comfortable with being in the arts, being that guy. that was when I was first becoming comfortable with it. And the first question anyone ever asks you in New York or the greater New York area is always, what do you do? Basically say, how can you serve me? And I have an agenda and I have a plan in my life. And I'm wondering if meeting you in these next few seconds or minute, or whatever, how long a conversation is, if you can help me get to where I want to be, or whatever. And there's always an agenda. And I hated it. And I hated it because I was going through my shit and I was like, they're like, what do you do? I'm like, I'm Joe. Like, Joe, like I do this. Do that. And like I always say, like, yo, if you're a title, or if your work title or job title or career title is longer than 1 or 2 words, save it. Narrow it down, because if you do get long-winded, they're gonna respect you less, and you're gonna respect yourself less. Because yeah, sure, I'm an artist, I'm an actor, I'm a podcast host, I'm an entertainment host. I could do this, I could do that, whatever. Not everyone wants to hear that, because you are talking to someone that probably only has one talent or barely even half a talent. So when you tell them that you can do all these things, it sets them off. And when they're, counting their dollars in their corner of their room, or saving, or working at a desk, or having their buttoned up suit, they aren't so happy about themselves. So when you throw this chink in their armor, where it's like, you do all those things, you're happy, and you're not making that much money right now. What the fuck? That's stupid. And I'm like, damn, it does sound stupid. And then I would get sad and depressed, and I was like, I gotta get out of here. And that's why I don't ask people what they do.
Yeah.
I don't know what a lot of my friends do, because I don't care. Because I'm not hanging out with you at your job. Sure, I'll hear about what you want to talk about, and I'll listen, and I'll offer my advice or experience, whatever. Sure, cool. But I don't care. It doesn't do anything to me. I'll rather ask. It's funny. It does pique people's ears and their interest when I ask, "Hey, what makes you happy?" Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm Joe. What grinds your gears? Oh, hey, I'm Joe. What did you overcome this year? Like, just mix it up a little bit. Like, because what do you do? You're automatically putting someone in a category, so then you can find out what else you could talk about. Yeah, sometimes I get a little lazy. I'm like, hey, where are you from? Oh, I'm from Buffalo, New York. Damn, I played football there once, and I had some bomb-ass wings. Cool, Bill's Mafia. That's cool. That'll start something up. But it still puts you in a category. It still puts you in something like, oh, we're going to talk about where the hell you're from and about buffalo wings the rest of this freaking dinner. That sucks. So I'd rather ask you what makes you happy. So then when you answer to me and you tell me and I listen and I find my mutual experience or my mutual stories or something that I don't even know about, that's what we're going to talk about the rest of the night. And guess what? That thing we're talking about makes you very happy. Not what you do, because the chances are you probably don't like what you do these days. People don't like what they do. People do not like what they do. Me, however, fucking love what I do. I'm not going to make a lot of money right now, but I sure as shit am going to be doing it very soon.
That's awesome. Joe, I am going to let you know that we are going to probably have to cut this a little short.
Oh, man, so much fun.
I think we could. That's what I was saying. I think we could have gone for a couple more hours if we wanted to, but we would try to keep it to about 45 minutes, and we had the first 5 minutes for some stories. I do want to say that I literally had that conversation yesterday with someone. Someone asked a friend of mine what they did. It was the first time we'd really ever met this person, and he just goes sales. I knew a little bit more of what he done, and sales is like the most broad term of what he does. It's like the briefest. But he was just like, what's the point of me going into exactly what I do? I don't love it. This person's not going to love hearing about it. And I'm not going to ask them about what they do, because I probably don't love what they do either. What the fuck's the point?
Fuck.
Exactly. So why not ask questions that we actually care about the answers to, which is just kind of something I wanted to touch on with that last point of yours. So before we sign off, Joe, is there anybody you'd like to shout out to? You can plug your cousins who play football at Colorado. You can plug whatever your next project is.
I'm plugging myself. Follow Big Joe.
Fucking Big Joe.
They haven't made it yet. They haven't caught a pass on TV. Get the hell out of here. Come on.
All right, so everybody go follow at Big Joe. Thank you so much for your time, man.
Do you have
or my Zoom call meeting name?
Oh, Big motherfucking Joe.
Yeah, that's
Big move fucking Joe.
that. If there's Big motherfucking Joe. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you. You've been very. It's been very nice to stare at your faces this early in the morning.
We're happy we could be the first people you see. I'm Andrew once again. You two want to say goodbye?
Paul's like, hey.
Hey.
I don't need to say goodbye.
Never do.